Hey there, Caleb Wojcik of DIY Video Guy, and I'm here in the studio to talk about putting Canon lenses on Sony camera bodies. And what's nice about this is if you're switching from Canon to Sony and you already have a bunch of EF or EFS lenses, there are adapters that you can put onto mirrorless cameras like the A7 series, the A6000 series, or even up into the more professional cameras like the FS7 or FS5. But there are some downsides as well of using Canon glass on a Sony body, so I'm going to be talking through those in this video. So I've tried two of the adapters. The more expensive one, the $400 MetaBones adapter, which has an actual USB plug that you can update the firmware for, and I did update that, I did use it, but I just wasn't happy with the autofocus performance. And for way less money, for about $100, you can get the Photo Diox Pro, which is, it's a little flimsy. It's not quite as snug a fit as the MetaBones, so sometimes I'll have trouble with the lens electronics connecting to the Sony camera, but it's a quarter of the price and you get a lot of the same manual focus features that you might expect. Now, I read a lot of tests online of different people that had used these adapters and tried out the autofocus features of their cameras with them, and I tried both on the A7S II and the A7R II with different adapters, and I just never was really happy with the autofocus performance in photo or video mode. I know with the MetaBones you can update the firmware, and depending on which lens you're using, you're gonna get different results, but it's just not a super reliable feature. So if you're expecting autofocus performance for photography, I would really stick with Sony native lenses. I wouldn't trust that this is gonna deliver in a bind, in a hurry, or anything like that. So I've only been using manual focus when I've been using these lenses on a Sony body, and that's how I can get the best look out of it. And with using focus peaking, you can actually tell what's in focus. A few more things to keep in mind. If you're putting an EF lens on a full frame body, like something like the A7R II, A7S II, you will get full coverage on the sensor, but if you put an EFS lens on it, one of the cheaper ones that are meant for the crop sensor cameras, you're gonna have to switch your camera into APS-C mode, and on the A7S II, that means that you can't shoot in 4K. So just be aware that you're gonna have to change your camera's settings if you're putting on one of the EFS lenses. Another thing to be aware of is that since Canon lenses are typically a little bit bigger than some of the mirrorless options, you will have trouble with tripod clearance, so you have to mount your camera really far forward on the plate to make sure there's room for the lens to attach to the camera. I know some Sony lenses, like the G Master 85, they have this issue too, so it's just kind of something you deal with when you're using a small camera body like this. To get around it, you could use a vertical grip to make the camera body sit a little bit higher, and then you have more room for the lens to clear. Some of the special focus modes that you get in these cameras that are really great, I'm thinking of eye autofocus, face autofocus, the ability to get a digital zoom in effect when you are manually focusing. A lot of those things go away when you're using an adapter. So you're not going to be able to use a lot of the features that are great about these mirrorless cameras, which might be a reason why you're switching from a DSLR to get that eye autofocus, to get some of those additional features. If you're putting a Canon lens on the body, from my experience, you're not going to be able to use those unless maybe down the road they update some of these adapters. So that about wraps it up for this video. I just want to recommend that if you are going full mirrorless, honestly, I would offload your Canon lenses. Sony makes some really good ones with Zeiss, some of their G Master series. There are a lot of good options out there, and I would prefer to have a native lens on my camera body so I get all the features like I was just talking about. So let me know in the comments below if you're shooting on Sony and what your experiences are with shooting Canon lenses. I'd love to hear, and maybe I'll find out a better way to use some of my glass. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.